Have you ever wondered about the history of Pontiac? There was a time when Pontiac was the beating heart of American performance, with names like GTO, Firebird, and Trans Am echoing across drag strips and highways. Pontiac wasn't just a car brand, it was a symbol of speed, rebellion, and muscle. But while its glory days were immortalized in pop culture and collector garages, Pontiac's story is one of dramatic rises and tragic decline, ending in the brand's quiet disappearance in 2010. This is the story of Pontiac, from a conservative companion to Oakland to the wild child of General Motors and how it raced its way into automotive legend. Welcome to History Wonder. Before there was Pontiac, there was Oakland Motor Car Company, founded in 1907 in Pontiac, Michigan. Named after the county, Oakland was absorbed by General Motors in 1909 during GM founder William C. Durant's legendary buying spree. But by the 1920s, Oakland was struggling, sales were slumping, and GM needed a more competitive brand to fill the gap between Chevrolet and Oldsmobile. In 1926, Pontiac was introduced as a companion marquee to Oakland, named after the Native American chief Pontiac. Its first car, the Series 627, was a six-cylinder vehicle priced like a four-cylinder, and it was a hit. Pontiac sold over 76,000 units in its debut year, and by 1933 it had completely replaced Oakland. During its early decades, Pontiac was a solid middle-tier brand in the GM lineup, reliable, modestly priced, and well-equipped. Known for their silver-streaked hoods and Native American-themed hood ornaments, these cars weren't particularly exciting, but they were popular with families and middle-class Americans. Pontiac cars of the 1940s and 50s were known for comfort and smooth inline 8 engines. They featured innovations like hydromatic automatic transmissions and dual-range powertrains, but performance wasn't yet a priority. GM's rigid brand hierarchy discouraged overlap, with Chevrolet handling entry-level, Oldsmobile offering innovation, Buick luxury, and Cadillac the top tier. Pontiac's transformation wouldn't begin until the arrival of a man who saw potential in the untapped hunger for performance. Enter John DeLorean, a maverick engineer and marketing genius. By the early 1960s, he had become chief engineer of Pontiac and was itching to make the brand more exciting. GM had a corporate ban on racing and general distaste for performance cars, but DeLorean saw a loophole. In 1964, he and his team took the mid-size Pontiac Tempest and stuffed a 389 cubic inch V8 into it. They called it the GTO, named after the Italian Gran Turismo Omologato. Initially an option package, it quickly became its own model and ignited the muscle car era. The GTO was raw, loud, and exhilarating. It was marketed to young drivers with slogans like "The Great One" and "Sold like hotcakes." Other brands scrambled to catch up, but Pontiac had already claimed the crown. The GTO is widely regarded as the first true muscle car, a legacy that still holds. While the GTO led the charge, it was joined by the Pontiac Firebird in 1967, GM's answer to the widely successful Ford Mustang. Built on the F-body platform shared with the Chevrolet Camaro, the Firebird offered aggressive styling and Pontiac-tuned engines, giving it a distinct identity. Then came the Trans Am, a high-performance Firebird variant introduced in 1969. With its shaker hood scoops, spoilers, and screaming chicken decals, the Trans Am was built for attention and speed. It truly exploded into icon status in 1977 with the release of Smokey and the Bandit, in which Burt Reynolds made the black and gold Trans Am a legend on wheels. Through the 1970s, even as emissions regulations and oil crisis slowed most cars down, Pontiac still managed to churn out impressive performance, largely thanks to clever engineering and some visual muscle flair. The Trans Am became a cultural phenomenon. By the 1980s, the muscle car era had fizzled, and Pontiac, like most American automakers, was trying to adapt. Enter cars like the Pontiac 6000, the Sunbird, and the Grand Am. Not exactly performance legend, but solid sellers. Pontiac did attempt to recapture the thrill with the Pontiac Fiero, introduced in 1984. It was a mid-engine sports car, the first of its kind in an American company, and it looked like nothing else on the road. However, it was underpowered and plagued with early reliability issues. Though later Fieros were far improved, the damage to its reputation had been done, and the model was killed by 1988. Still, Pontiac managed to hold on to its Excitement division label with vehicles like the turbocharged Grand Prix and a redesigned Trans Am, which remained a staple of 80s cool. The 1990s were a strange era for Pontiac. While the Trans Am and the Firebird soldiered on, most of the lineup became increasingly hard to distinguish from its GM siblings. The brand's once bold styling became cultured with plastic body cladding and over-designed interiors. Yet, sales were steady thanks to popular models like the Grand Am, the Bonneville, and the Grand Prix. Pontiac also leaned into sportiness with the GT and GTP trims, supercharged V6 engines, and aggressive body kits. While performance wasn't what it used to be, Pontiac still managed to appeal to younger drivers and offering more excitement than Chevrolet or Buick. The brand even dipped back into performance territory with the 1999 Firebird Trans Am WS6, a true 320 horsepower muscle coupe that proved Pontiac still had fire in its veins. As the 21st century began, Pontiac was facing brand confusion. It was no longer the performance leader it once was, and its vehicles overlapped heavily with Chevrolet in both design and engineering. Still, there were a few bright spots. The Pontiac GTO returned in 2004, this time a rebadged Australian Holden Monero, with a 5.7-liter, later a 6.0-liter LS V8 under the hood. It had serious performance chops, but was criticized for bland styling and high pricing. The Pontiac Solstice, introduced in 2006, was a sleek two-seat roadster that drew praise for its looks and handling. It represented a return to fun, affordable performance, though it never quite reached Miata-level success. The G8, launched in 2008, was a muscular rear-wheel drive sedan, also based on an Australian Holden. It was a spiritual successor to classic American muscle and widely loved by enthusiasts. Unfortunately, these late efforts came too late to reverse Pontiac's downward slide. By the late 2000s, General Motors was in deep trouble. Years of bloated lineups, mismanagement, and financial turmoil culminated in the global financial crisis of 2008. Facing bankruptcy, GM was forced to restructure and make tough decisions. In April 2009, GM announced it would phase out Pontiac as part of its government-backed restructuring. The move shocked many, as Pontiac still had strong brand recognition and loyal fans, but GM chose to focus on Chevrolet, Buick, Cadillac, and GMC. The final Pontiac rolled off the line in January 2010, a white G6 built in Orion Township, Michigan. It was a quiet end for a once mighty brand. Though Pontiac is gone, its impact reverberates through automotive culture. The GTO remains a gold standard for classic muscle, sought after by collectors and immortalized in car shows. Trans Am, particularly from the late 70s, fetch high values and remain symbols of American cool. The Solstice and the G8, though short-lived, have developed cult followings. Pontiac's image as the Excitement division still sparks nostalgia, and many believe it was prematurely killed just as it was finding its footing again. Some fans even speculate that with GM's recent pivot to electric vehicles and performance branding, like the resurrected Hummer EV, a revival of Pontiac could one day be possible, perhaps as a performance EV sub-brand. While unlikely, the idea speaks to how beloved the Pontiac name still is. Pontiac's history is one of daring innovation, corporate politics, cultural resonance, and ultimate heartbreak. It gave the world the muscle car, challenged performance norms, and created machines that inspired generations. Though the factories have gone quiet, the spirit of Pontiac lives on at car shows, on racetracks, and in the hearts of enthusiasts who still believe in roaring engines, long hood scoops, and the unfiltered joy of driving. Because excitement, once ignited, doesn't just disappear, it lingers, waiting for someone to fire it up again. We build excitement. Pontiac did, and the world hasn't forgotten. Thanks for watching. What topics in history have you wondered about? Comment below and let us know what videos you would like to see. And be sure to like and subscribe.